Hi there. Today, I want to do something that's maybe a bit strange of a video topic, but something I think would be interesting to cover regardless. That being an overview of the Mother 3 Fall of the Pig King demo that was present at Nintendo Spaceworld 1999. I know so many people want to try and learn as much info they can about the unreleased N64 Mother 3, so hopefully this video can help contribute to that. So without further ado, here's that video. Beginning off, I'll give some background on Spaceworld. Nintendo Spaceworld, formerly known as Shoshinkai, was a video game trade show that was hosted by Nintendo from the years 1989 to 2001. Many upcoming games and pieces of hardware would be previewed here over the years. Mother 3 was first shown off at Spaceworld 96, in an admittedly early state for the 64DD. The following year, a playable demo was planned to be at Spaceworld 97, but this didn't end up coming to fruition, with only a gameplay footage trailer being shown instead. Nintendo skipped out on a Spaceworld 1998 due to a lack of new software ready at the time, but come Spaceworld 99, they came out swinging, with many new previews and playable demos for several upcoming releases such as Super Mario RPG 2, Kirby 64, Donkey Kong 64, and of course, Mother 3. At this point, the game had shifted from 64DD to the regular N64, and a playable demo was ready for players to dive into. I'll explain what the mechanics and features of the demo were, but before I do, I want to go over some of the parts of the demo that weren't the game itself. Firstly, the wait times. The wait times for some of the games there, like Kirby 64, were up to an hour and a half long. Meanwhile, Mother 3 ranged from a 45-minute wait to no wait at all, if you got in early. But I'll get back to that later. Anyways, after waiting in line, you'd be greeted with this setup. Demo TVs on top that played the trailer for the game, as well as some other B-roll, which apparently were scenes of Lucas jumping on the train from the Drago, Lucas driving a pork bean, the full cutscene of the twins riding the minecart, the full cutscene of the Clayman escaping from the water, a battle with a Supreme Tank Z, a battle with something else, another battle with something, Flint running up to a waterfall in Toilet Falls, a cyborg zombie rising from its grave, a conversation between Flint and Mayor PK Perkle, and Flint, Lucas, Duster, and Boney escaping a facility by hanging onto a ship. A lot of this footage can be seen in the official Mother 3 Spaceworld 99 trailer, which of course I'm sure literally anyone who knows anything about EB64 has seen at least once. This trailer was also shown on their big screen at the event too. There were 10 demo stations with 10 cartridges that contained the demo, all of which were development cartridges with what appears to be a white label with the Mother 3 logo on them. A chart underneath the TVs explained the controls, which, unfortunately, we're not sure exactly of what they said. However, this seems to be what the controls were. The Z button would allow you to speak to NPCs, to punch, to swap leading characters, and enter a vehicle. The control stick was for moving, of course, for swapping lead character in battle, and for menu navigation. Speaking of which, the C buttons were also for menu navigation. The B button was for dismissing an option, for kicking, and for accelerating your vehicle. The A button was for confirming an option, jumping, sound battles, braking a vehicle, and dodging during battle. And the R button would open your menu and exit your vehicle. You had 10 whole minutes to play the demo, which isn't a lot. I mean, this video is longer than 10 minutes. So, after waiting in line for up to 45 minutes, getting to only play for 10 minutes is pretty measly. Anyways, you had headphones to be able to listen to the music in the game as well, as the loud noise of the venue center would drown out the noise of the game otherwise. After waiting in line and putting on your headphones, you'd finally be able to play Mother 3. This was the taste of what was to come that so many people were excited for. Starting the game out, you'd be greeted with the title screen, and upon hitting start, you'd begin in the middle of the Idobata Square as Flint, and here is where the experience would begin. Using the GBA map, here's a rough look at what you could do in the square. Firstly was Lisa walking around near the well. When you'd speak to anyone, the camera would zoom in. This villager would be wandering around over near the south side, Thomas would be over by their general store, and Mayor Perkle and his wife would be near the main building. Going north would lead to the crossroads, which had at least one more villager. At the exit to one of the paths of the crossroads, there was a female villager that would say, "If you go past here, you'll get a scene of a dog running. It won't make much sense here, but I assure you it does in the full game, so don't go all, 'Who is this dog?' okay?" This of course would lead to the Boney fetching Duster cutscene. The cutscene began with Flint and Boney in the rain. Boney then howls as he notices something on the cliff. Wes comes in and offers his son's help to reach the top, which leads to Boney running to go fetch him, dragging him there by his legs, due to Duster sleeping. The Snake Dungeon also was accessible from the crossroads. It was a dank cave where you could hop on mushrooms to reach alternate paths, and battle poisonous snakes, which apparently some of the players of the demo mistook for worms. Also presumably accessible from the crossroads was a section where you could play as Flint and Lucas in the Sunshine Forest, where you would fight capybaras and vultures. To return to the beginning of the demo, you could open gift boxes scattered around in every map that would say, "Good job," sending you back to Tazmily Village. Back in the Idobata Square, you could enter one of the main building doors to who we can say with the GBA version's hindsight was Bateau inside. He had dialogue that read, "You like pigeons?" No, not pigeon meat, I mean pigeons as in birds. One of the pigeons would say, "Summer vacation is almost over." As for the other dialogue from the villagers in the demo, this is what we know was said from various sources of people who played the demo. Spaceworld is on today, so it's really noisy. This Mother 3 can be played only at Spaceworld. That's a rare treat. I heard from a Mother commercial that if you drop the M from Mother, you're left with something other, but maybe you should leave the M and add a 3 instead. Mother 3 is slowly progressing along. For now, we've put together all the good bits and funny bits just for Spaceworld. You can enjoy it just like a bento. I think my dialogue in the actual game will go something like this. Be careful out there, don't pick up and eat food from the ground. Is it just me, or am I being watched by a huge crowd of people? The protagonist this time is an adult man. It would be quite problematic if you were to assume otherwise. We unfortunately don't have any images or descriptions regarding any specific text for this point, but we do know that talking to villagers would give a choice of multiple responses for dynamic conversations, something new to the Mother series. Also, if you jumped in front of an NPC, they would react to you. Going into one of the other doors of the Tazmily main building would play the DCMC performance cutscene from Chapter 4 of the game, with them performing Big Shot's theme. Apparently, a lot of pig masks would be seen in the audience cheering along to the performance. Going west from the square would lead to the Minecart Cutscene. This cutscene begins with Klaus helping Lucas into the minecart. They go through the mine and Klaus hits a switch to change the track points, continues through the mine, they fly over a gap and land on the other side, where the track ends not long after and shows the minecart and the twins falling into the river. Going south from the square would lead to the desert with the sunset and the pork bean segment. You'd play as Flint and be able to speed around in a pork bean, with music that apparently was reminiscent of Mother 1 and 2 while inside the pork bean. A feature of this section was that if you crashed into a wall, your character's head would get stuck in the sand for a few seconds. You could fight pig masks and Supreme Tank Z's out here. Speaking of fighting, allow me to explain the battle system before continuing. Entering a battle in this game wasn't like the previous two games, meaning that you couldn't just touch an enemy to engage a battle like you could in Mother 1 and 2. Instead, you would have to jump on small enemies or punch larger ones. Following that, you could attack again to start a turn-based battle. To add to this, you could stun smaller enemies by kicking them, which would flip them over onto their backs. This would give you the advantage in battle. Whenever you'd have an advantage in battle, it'd show an enemy laying on the ground. However, an enemy could attack you on the overworld too and initiate battle themselves by attacking you while you're knocked down. If this happened, the screen would be tilted to show you laying on the ground. As some of you may be aware, you could only fight enemies one by one in a group instead of selecting which one you want to attack. Additional enemies would be on standby behind the one you're currently fighting. This also applied to your party members, which you could switch to at any time by flicking the control stick. Instead of saying, "The enemy attacked," like in Mother 1 and 2, the text at the beginning of the battle would read, "Battle with the enemy began." This is likely due to an introduction of non-hostile battles in Mother 3 as a new feature. Speaking about that, there was a new speak mechanic, where the player could speak to an enemy in order to avoid conflict and run from battle. I'll return to this mechanic later. Lucas had a new, unique ability called Call, where he could summon nearby friendly animals to aid in battle. This ability, however, was locked in the demo. The magic system, which was renamed from PSI in Mother 1 and 2, was completely reworked from those two titles. How it would work was that you would absorb the energy of the environment to create magic, which would fill a meter at the bottom of the screen. If you filled it too much, your character would overheat and become temporarily unusable. This was also locked in the demo as well. Only one party member and one enemy would be active at one time. I mentioned earlier how to swap your party members in battle. This was encouraged to be used strategically in battle. Smash attacks returned from Mother 1 and 2. You could perform rhythm combos by hitting the A button to the beat of the music, which would cause extra damage. You could also dodge enemy attacks by pressing the A button at the right time during their attack, sorta like in Paper Mario. Anyways, going east of the square led to a different desert. This desert had more pigmask sergeants and capybaras to fight. You'd start off as Flint and you could find and recruit Lucas. Lucas would be standing by himself, kicking up sand. You could mistakenly bump into each other and fall over. Sparks would fly out as a result. Talking to Lucas would get him to join your party. To switch between leading party members on the overworld, you could press the Z button in front of your following party members and perform a baton pass. There were parts of the terrain that you could trip and fall over. One player had Lucas fall over and it reportedly took about 10 seconds for him to get up. Attempting to walk up steep slopes would make you trip and slide, similar to Super Mario 64. One last thing, on your menu on the overworld, it displayed an acorn counter, and you had healing items in your inventory that you could use in battle. And that's about everything we know about the mechanics and features of the demo. Pretty expansive list, I must say. Now, I want to talk about some of the reception, notes, and descriptions that were provided by people who played the demo. Firstly is Excelsior. On their website were 20 photos and descriptions for each of them. Half the descriptions were backed up by the Internet Archive and are thus preserved now. Forgive any discrepancies since these were translated using DeepL. Anyways, here they are. Now, the problem is Mother 3. I had to stand in line twice because I only had 10 minutes. I think I could have stood in line longer, but I got pissed off. See below. Side note, I really like that he said this. He basically suggests that he was going to wait in line a third time to play again, but he got mad waiting so long. That is objectively awesome. For now, the basics from the booklet. The dad, Flint, and the twins, Lucas and Klaus. The dog, Boney. It says it was to be released in May 2000. This is the worst timing for me. The title screen. This demo version was made specially for us. There are 3 events to watch and 3 fields with battles. You start as the father in the middle of the village, and you can talk to the villagers. Most of the dialogue is for the demo version. There was a commercial that said mother. If you take away the M, it's other, but you should put a 3 on it, and dialogue like that. On the right is combat. In 3, you can punch and kick enemies on the field to make them roll over on their backs, and the one who jumps on them gets the first move. You can jump on the field, which makes it very action-packed. Press A/B to jump and attack, Z to talk, ride vehicles, check, etc. Press R to change characters and get off the vehicle. Top left is the command. Select a command by tapping the 3D stick. In addition to fight, there are other commands such as hit, magic, call, Lucas, endure, check, goods, and strength, which seems to vary depending on the character. When I looked at the stats for strength, I found a mysterious number called kindness. There was still something unique about it. Remember when I said I would come back to that call ability? Well, since we know the kindness stat was in EarthBound 64, it seems it may have been linked to Lucas's call ability, maybe. The image on the right is probably where I was selecting items. I had some kind of attack items, but I could only use recovery items. I couldn't use magic, release, or call. The red area at the bottom is due to a lack of HP. You may be dead. HP is displayed here. The red one in the center is probably a poisonous worm. The battle is over. I grabbed something, or I learned something important. Is the abstract display because it's still under development? Pig mask. I'm not sure. When I saw the promo, I saw Pigmask Sergeant. I wonder if there are other types. The battle is basically a tie-up. You have to kill them one by one. If there are multiple enemies, they are waiting behind you. It said that if you hit the button in time with the music, you can attack continuously, but I didn't know when to do that. If the enemy preempts you, the screen is tilted. On the other hand, if you preempt the enemy, you start with the enemy lying on his face. On the right is the desert. The black shadow is a vehicle. That's where the preserved notes end. However, we have some vague and likely inaccurate descriptions from Starman.net in 1999. Here's the rest of the images and what some of those vague notes about them are. The text on the screen here says, "You defeated the flying rat." Here's an image of Flint with 0 HP killed by this Supreme Tank Z. Apparently, Excelsior hit the attack button at just the right time in the music while he was fighting this guy, so the enemy was hit around 5 times for a ton of damage. This is an image of Flint in a pork bean, speeding over a hill. Here's Flint speaking to Lisa. Not much to say about this one. The text is ineligible with this photo quality, sadly. Here's a pic with a TV showing a frame of the Minecart Cutscene and a TV showing Flint in the snake cave. This photo shows a frame of the DCMC performing and Flint entering a battle with a poisonous snake. Here's another one showing a frame of the Minecart Cutscene and a funky looking battle on the right. Here's yet another frame of the Minecart Cutscene. This image shows Flint being attacked by a poisonous snake and the desert in the bottom right, and this last one shows Flint standing between Perkle and Elmore and what seems to be the desert on the right again. That's all for what Excelsior took, not counting 20 other photos that were available in a zip file on his site, which are now lost, tragically. Anyways, next is the Jinko Report. Jinko is the username for a Mother fan who played the Spaceworld Mother 3 demo, but prior to playing it, however, they were already a fan of the series and excited for the game. In particular, they had a fascination with Lucas. A lot of what we know about this demo does actually come from her report, which she made very shortly after playing the demo, which was uploaded online in 1999 to her website, and eventually reposted by her onto Pixiv in 2015. In 2021, I discovered this Pixiv post, to which the EB64 community worked diligently to translate the information she had written. Since there's so much that she wrote, a lot of which I already detailed previously in other sections of this video, I'll summarize what she wrote and drew. Here that goes. The report begins with Jinko explaining she began writing this at 3 PM on August 28th and finished by the next morning. She then explains these are indeed notes she made after playing the 50% complete Mother 3 at Spaceworld 99. She draws the path she took to reach the Mother 3 booth, and draws and describes the minecart scene and the pork ship scene. She then explains the hour-long wait and some of the gameplay she could see while waiting, including some of the NPC dialogue she could recall. She draws the baton pass function and the pork bean, and then draws her memory of how the Tasmilly Square looked like, and where the various sections of the demo could be reached. She also draws what the booth setup was like, the minecart scene again, and the present boxes that would return you to Tasmilly. She then goes on to describe her goal to find Lucas in the demo and play as him, which she ends up doing and showing how a battle with Lucas against a capybara went. After this, one of the attendants told her time up, and she stopped playing. After this are a few final notes, such as the quote, "The music in the headphones felt straight out of a Western film. The songs up to now were just vaguely weird, but I guess stuff like this sometimes just is. And the themes and feelings were family and pigs. What does that even mean?" Both Excelsior and Jinko's recollections on the demo were some of the best info we have on Mother 3 at Spaceworld 99. There's quite a bit more reports besides these two, but none as detailed and information dense. However, there are several more of interest, so I'll read a few more reports. Firstly is this one from a Google Groups user, posted not very long after they played the demo. Mother 3. I arrived at 9 AM and saw no one in line, so I decided to give it a try. The playtime was supposed to be 10 minutes, but they let us play for 25. It was a demo version made for Spaceworld. The game starts in a village, but from there you can either suddenly go into a dungeon or cutscene. There were 2 different cutscenes. One was a dog running in the rain, and the other were 2 kids riding a minecart. I can't make sense of it, since I don't know what the story is. In any case, it seems the protagonist this time is a father, his twin boys, and a dog. Well, it's just a standard RPG, but in 3D. There are no special twists despite it being in 3D. The camera doesn't move much at all, so it can be a little difficult to see sometimes. I don't even remember if it's possible to change the camera yourself or not. Or rather, I didn't even try to. There seems to be an event where you can drive around in this hovercraft vehicle. Use the analog stick to aim the direction of the car, and press B to go. The car then moves forward. It feels quite different from your average racing game. I think the feeling of acceleration was quite nice. In the dungeon, you can use the B button to attack and A to jump. There was a mushroom that bounced me off when I tried to attack it. I wonder what this was. There were many enemies wandering around that you could flip over using the B button. If you jump on top of them after, you can enter the battle scene. The battle methods are command-based, and you have no choice but to fight, I think. After choosing a command, you can press the A button in time with the background music to perform consecutive attacks. There seems to be several types of background music, so it never really gets boring. These battles are going to be fun. As soon as the battle begins, you can tap the A button to get comfortable with the rhythm. I've decided to buy Mother 3 after playing this. The person who wrote this report didn't see that much considering they thought there were only 2 cutscenes. I did mention earlier in this video that some people got to play for more than 10 minutes, and this is what I was referring to. It's pretty crazy that they actually got to play for 25 minutes in total, when usually people there only got 10 minutes. Early bird gets the worm, I suppose. Here's a report from August 29th, 1999, sourced from a website called Myself and Nintendo. The headphones at the Mother 3 demo booth really let me hear every sound. It felt like Mother. In this Spaceworld demo, I could wander around town as the main twins' father to talk with townspeople and suddenly find different kinds of events. The first cutscene features the expressionless twins wildly riding a minecart, so this cost me some time at the booth. Waste of time. I didn't want to watch a cutscene, I wanted to do things in the game. After I finished playing, when I was answering a survey at the exit, it said the headphones were there for the system that allows you to press a button to the rhythm during attacks, but I couldn't understand how to do it. Survey Nichan, that's what the people there called it, said that this is a system that will be learned through playing the game, so it may be difficult to learn all at once. I asked a question there despite me being the one surveyed. I was wondering, is the game still coming out on the N64 that's in development? Apparently, it doesn't have to do with the N64 so it isn't going to use the extra data transferring speeds. Too bad. Anyways, favorites like Smash and You Win are still going strong. I was only 50% into it until that point. Is it really coming out in May? It'll be here soon. Well, I guess they were right to question whether the game would actually come out in May. Interesting to know that they got to fill out surveys afterward. I will return to that point later. Now here's an official report from Nintendo.com. Players who are clamoring for more RPGs can only keep their fingers crossed that Mother 3 will be released in the US. Shigesato Itoi, the creator of the previous Mother games, released as EarthBound in North America, has created another offbeat fantasy adventure in a trippy alternate universe. Hallmarks of the previous Mother/EarthBound games are immediately obvious in the video trailer. Hip musicians, boy adventurers, strange vehicles, and psychedelic RPG-style fight scenes. But using the power of the Nintendo 64 to set the game in a real-time 3D world has allowed Mr. Itoi and his game developers to use cinematic techniques to add movie-like drama to the story. This was most evident in an exciting minecart sequence, but you could tell that the other snippets of the game would take full advantage of the medium to add excitement and emotion throughout the story. Japanese gamers can look forward to Mother 3 in May of 2000, but poor RPG-starved North American gamers will have to wait a little longer. Here's a report from a website known as the Gaming Intelligence Agency, another Western site. RPG-starved Nintendo 64 fans will be happy to know that Mother 3 Fall of the Pig King, aka EarthBound 64, has climbed out of the vaporware abyss. The title made an impressive debut at Nintendo Spaceworld show in Japan, and it's clear that the game should give N64 owners something to look forward to. The Spaceworld demo opens in a village. From here, the player can take different paths out of the village and into the various segments of the demo. 2 of the areas were just non-playable cutscenes. One showed 2 young kids, one with blonde hair and one with red, riding a minecart through several tunnels, while the other showed a dog racing through a storm to its owner, whom it guided to the 2 kids and a man in black clothing. Both of these scenes appear in the movie posted earlier today. The other areas were all playable. In one, the blonde kid, apparently the main character, teams up with the man in the black hat to battle boars and birds. A second area takes place in the sewers, where the player hops around on mushrooms and battles snakes. Finally, a third playable area sees the party in a desert, battling a giant pig cannon. The team hops in a futuristic hovercar and speeds about the landscape while the cannon shoots cannonballs at them. Getting hit by the cannonballs will knock your party down, a dangerous situation. If an enemy party leaps on you while you're prostrate, they get a free round of attacks in the ensuing battle. Other enemies can knock you down as well. On the other hand, if you charge at the enemy and knock them down, You get to attack first. Fans of Mother 2, EarthBound, will remember a similar system, but in Mother 3, it's far more interactive. The battle system is also an upgrade of Mother 2's. As previously mentioned, you view combat from the same first-person perspective used in the past Mother games. Combat features a number of new twists. This time around, you can evade enemy attacks by quickly hitting the proper button, as in Super Mario RPG. Also, landing a critical hit knocks the recipient flat on the ground and puts him or her out of action for a round. Your party size seems to have been downgraded, however. No more than 3 characters ever join your party during the demo, and there doesn't appear to be room for a 4th character in your status window. The first 2 Mother games both allowed 4 characters in your party at a time. The demo also contained a brief movie clip, in which the kids hop on a train and escape with a monster chasing them. The sequence is stunning, and the graphics look almost FMV quality. In fact, it's possible that the scene is FMV, as Angel Studios' port of Resident Evil 2 has proved that the Nintendo 64 is more than capable of FMV. FMV or no, Mother 3 should go a long way to plugging the RPG gap on the Nintendo 64. The once dead title is clearly alive again, with a Japanese release scheduled for May 2000. No US release has been announced, but we'll keep you posted. Thanks to the GIA's Japanese correspondent for the scoop. Finally, here's IGN's report on the demo, which is probably the most detailed description of the demo from a non-Japanese source. For the first time ever, Nintendo gave N64 fans and the press a chance to experience the company's first, and possibly only, turn-based Nintendo 64 role-playing game, EarthBound 64. Known as Mother 3, The End of the Pig King in Japan, the game picks up 10 years after the original Mother left off. The player assumes the roles of the Clint Eastwood-like cowboy Flint and the 2 kids, Luca and Klaus, as well as their dog Boney. Although it was a bit hard to gauge how the final game, and more importantly, its story, will come together, judging from the still only 50% complete demo version at Spaceworld, but the game looks very promising so far. One thing is already clear: Shigesato Toys' EarthBound 64 won't be cookie-cutter dungeon exploration fare like the glut of recent RPGs that's coming out of Japan. While the Spaceworld demo didn't offer much information on EarthBound's storyline, right now it can be summed up in one sentence. Find out why there is a UFO in the forest making strange sounds. We were able to sample a few of the game's areas. Desert canyons. Players control Flint as he makes his way through an arid canyon landscape populated by wild boars and vultures. This demo level perfectly shows off how the game's battle system will work. Flint, who can run around at fairly high speeds, can see his opponents at all time. Once he gets close, he can either try to go around them or tackle them head on. If Flint manages to hit his enemy, the creature may get stunned. Approaching the opponent then triggers a turn-based battle scene, similar in style to the predecessor's first-person fights. If Flint stunned his opponent, he gets a chance to attack without his opponent being able to block or even respond. Battles are completely menu-driven. For more on battles, read below. Flying the pork bean in the desert. Flint's hovering bean-shaped ship sure looks strange. With the help of the hovercraft, players can quickly zoom around the landscape and explore vast areas. The desert area includes a few huts and waterholes, as well as a host of pig soldiers and mechanical attack towers. If you're not careful and you bump into an enemy while flying the bean, you will get knocked out of the craft and be attacked immediately. Snake Dungeon. Simple textures, underground rivers, and plenty of snakes highlight this green-tinged dungeon. Train Cutscene. This scene was only shown on video, but it perfectly shows how unusual EarthBound is going to be. One of the main characters is riding a giant dragon who gallops through the landscape in front of a setting sun. A futuristic bullet train appears and drives alongside the dragon. Welcome to Mother 3. Rain. Another cutscene shows Boney the dog running through a stormy night. As rain pours down on him accompanied by thunder and lightning, he witnesses something in the forest. Town. Flynn explores Tatsumari Village. This portion of the game is played from a more zoomed out 3D perspective. Flint can walk around and chat with NPCs using the Z button, or open doors and go into buildings. The Band. DCMC plays some hot tunes in this well choreographed cutscene that has hundreds of pig soldiers dancing to the beat. Great sound samples. Minecart. This is clearly the visually most impressive sequence shown in the Spaceworld demo. Luca and Klaus jump into a minecart and rocket through a series of caves and dungeons. As they speed along, parts of the cave collapse and huge boulders come crashing down behind them, before the cart finally falls off the track and plummets into a river below. Thanks to the silky smooth graphics and the perfectly orchestrated music, this may be one of the most impressive cutscenes on N64 yet. The controls in the game are intuitive and easy to master. The Z trigger lets you speak to people, check for secrets, and use a spin attack. R brings up the inventory screen and menus, C buttons are for menu navigation, B cancels an action, initiates a jump attack or accelerates the pork bean, and A selects an option, makes your character jump, breaks the pork bean, or causes a flying attack. The turn-based battles use a circular command menu that lets players choose whether to attack, use magic, check something, talk, go to the inventory screen, examine the player's stats, or get up after being knocked out during the real-time sequences. Here, the graphics are much more simplistic and downright psychedelic. As players face their opponents in a first-person perspective, all kinds of color cycling and weird animated stuff is happening in the background. Think lava lamps and you get the picture. Music plays a huge role in the game. Not only is the sound well orchestrated and memorable to boot, keeping the rhythm of it all also plays an important role during the battle sequences. Listen to the music and hit the button at the right time to pull off a more powerful attack. So far, EarthBound 64 certainly looks like it will deliver plenty of originality and an unusual RPG quest. The demo didn't clarify much in the ways of story or character interaction. A quick scene in the demo video did confirm that the party can consist of more than one character, but the interesting graphics, excellent sound, and wonderful sense of humor certainly left a lasting impression. RPG fans should already be saving up their money for this one. That was a lot, huh? Well, you'd think after all that I've said all that there is to say about this demo, right? Well, there's at least one more piece of miscellaneous info, that being that apparently there was a glitch that one player experienced, where one of the cutscenes looped on repeat, somehow. Anyways, I said I would return to the point about the survey, which leads me to the discussion of what happened to Mother 3 after the demo. Well, in March 2000, 64 Dream had an interview with Itoy, and about how the game had changed in the time since the demo, he had to say, "The content hasn't changed that much, but it looks much better. That's mainly due to the improvements in our development tools and the efforts of the Pokemon Stadium team, who have given us plenty of help. So we can deduce from this that the visuals were what the team were working on a lot in the time between the demo and the cancellation. Speaking of which, as most of you probably already know, the game missed its May 2000 window, and by August of that year when Spaceworld 2000 was scheduled, they cancelled the game just before that trade show. And that is it when it comes to the Spaceworld 99 demo for Mother 3. To this day, the demo has never resurfaced, nor has any build of EarthBound 64, but hopefully someday. And when that day does come, we can sit back and see what we were right and wrong about, and this video will serve as a reminder of a different time. And until then, we'll have passionate and dedicated fans who will be there to recreate and revive everything we know about that demo. Thank you so much to everyone for sitting through this video, and to everyone who made this video possible. I really, really appreciate you all more than I can say. See you all another time.